The U.S. World War II arsenal weapons that won a global war, from rifles that ruled open battlefields to pistols, submachine guns, grenades, bazookas, knives, and flamethrowers designed for brutal close combat. The United States entered World War II with one of the largest and most diverse arsenals ever assembled. Some of these weapons became legends. Others were crude, cheap, and rushed into production. But together, they formed a fighting system that allowed American forces to adapt to deserts, jungles, cities, beaches, and frozen forests, often faster than their enemies could react. This is the story of the weapons that shaped America's war, beginning with the foundation of every infantry force: rifles and carbines. Rifles and carbines. M1 Garand. No American weapon defines World War II infantry combat more than the M1 Garand. Chambered in .30-06 and fed by an 8-round en-bloc clip, it was semi-automatic at a time when most enemies still relied on bolt-action rifles. That difference mattered. While enemy soldiers had to cycle their bolts after every shot, American infantrymen could fire 8 rounds as fast as they could aim and pull the trigger. The Garand didn't just increase firepower, it changed confidence. Soldiers trusted it. They pushed forward with it. And General Patton famously called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. M1 Carbine. Not every soldier needed a full-power battle rifle. Radio operators, officers, vehicle crews, and support troops required something lighter and more manageable than the Garand, but more effective than a pistol. The answer was the M1 Carbine. Compact, lightweight, and chambered in .30 carbine, it was easy to carry and quick to handle. It ended up being produced in staggering numbers, eventually even surpassing the Garand itself. It wasn't designed for long-range firefights. It was designed to keep soldiers alive when things suddenly went wrong. M1A1 paratrooper carbine airborne troops faced a unique problem. They had to fight the moment they hit the ground. The M1A1 paratrooper carbine solved this with a folding stock that allowed it to be strapped tightly during a jump. Once on the ground, it unfolded instantly, ready for combat in seconds. In airborne operations, speed wasn't a luxury. It was survival. M1903A3 Springfield. A legacy of World War I, the M1903A3 Springfield was still in service during the early years of WW2. Bolt action and slower than the Garand, it remained accurate and reliable. As semi-automatic rifles became standard, the Springfield transitioned into secondary roles: training, rear area defense, and grenade launching. It wasn't cutting edge anymore, but it was dependable. M1903A4 Sniper Rifle. By fitting the Springfield with a scope and removing iron sights, the U.S. Army created the M1903A4, its primary sniper rifle. Snipers didn't fight wars alone, but they shaped battlefields. Precision fire disrupted enemy movements, targeted officers, and applied psychological pressure in environments already filled with chaos. M1917 Enfield. Often forgotten, the M1917 Enfield was a rugged bolt-action rifle carried by millions during World War I. In World War II, it returned for training, guard duty, and supply to allies. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't need to be. In a global war, availability mattered as much as innovation. M1941 Johnson Rifle. The Johnson rifle was the Garand's most interesting rival. Its rotary magazine allowed soldiers to top it off with stripper clips, even with the bolt closed. Though it saw limited service, especially with Marines early in the Pacific, those who used it often praised its accuracy and handling. The Johnson is proof that WW2 was a testing ground where not every good idea became standard, but many were tried in combat. Submachine guns. As fighting closed in on cities, trenches, and jungles, compact automatic weapons became essential. Thompson M1A1. The simplified wartime Thompson fired heavy .45 ACP rounds that were devastating at close range. To speed production, earlier luxury features were removed. The result was a brutal, reliable submachine gun, effective but heavy. Carrying it for long distances was exhausting, but when the fighting got close, it earned its weight. Thompson M1928A1. This was the classic Tommy gun, beautifully machined, expensive, and iconic. It entered the war as a premium weapon, but wartime realities quickly made such craftsmanship unsustainable. Still, its reputation was earned. In close-quarters combat, it was terrifying. M3. Grease gun. Where the Thompson was elegant, the M3 grease gun was crude. Made from stamped steel, cheap and simple, it looked more like a garage tool than a firearm. But it worked. Its slower rate of fire made it controllable, and its low cost allowed mass production. In a war of factories, the grease gun fit perfectly. Reesing M50. The reesing was accurate, but fragile. In the mud, sand, and humidity of the Pacific, it gained a reputation for unreliability. Some Marines had to manually force the bolt closed during combat. It was a harsh reminder that laboratory performance meant nothing if a weapon failed in real environments. Pistols and revolvers. Sidearms were rarely primary weapons, but when rifles failed or space was tight, pistols saved lives. M1911A1. The M1911A1 fired a heavy .45 caliber round and earned legendary status for its stopping power and reliability. It remained the standard U.S. service pistol for decades after the war. When everything else failed, soldiers trusted the 1911 Smith & Wesson Victory model, produced in massive numbers. This 38 revolver-armed air crews, naval personnel, and guards. It wasn't flashy, but it was reliable and easy to issue. Colt M1917 revolver, a large revolver firing .45 ammunition using half-moon clips. Old, heavy, and powerful. Another WW2 design pressed back into service. High-standard HDM, silenced, used by the OSS, this suppressed .22 pistol was designed for silent missions. It represented the hidden side of the war: sabotage, assassinations, and covert operations far from the front lines. FP-45 Liberator. A psychological weapon more than a combat one. Cheap, single-shot, and disposable, the Liberator was meant to arm resistance fighters just long enough to steal a better weapon. It wasn't meant to win battles. It was meant to start them. Machine guns, M1918A2 bar. The Browning automatic rifle gave squads mobile automatic fire. Firing full-power rifle cartridges, it bridged the gap between rifle and machine gun, though its 20-round magazine limited sustained fire. M1919A4 and A6 Browning. The M1919A4 provided reliable medium machine gun fire from a tripod. The A6 attempted to make it portable by adding a stock and bipod, but it remained heavy and awkward. Both versions showed America's constant push to adapt firepower to changing needs. M1917A1, water-cooled Browning. Built for sustained fire, its water-cooled barrel allowed hours of continuous operation. Perfect for defensive positions where holding ground mattered more than mobility. M2HB .50 Cull, known as Ma Deuce, the M2 could shred vehicles, aircraft, and cover. Its design was so effective that it outlived the war and remains in service today. Shotguns. Shotguns dominated close-range fighting, especially in the Pacific. Winchester 1897 trench gun. Slam fire capability made it terrifying. Winchester Model 12, sleek, rugged, and reliable. Ithaca 37, bottom ejection kept dirt out. Stevens 520, sturdy, often used for guard duty. Anti-tank and support weapons M1A1 bazooka, a portable rocket launcher that gave infantry a chance against armor. Deadly, but dangerous to use due to backblast. M18 recoilless rifle. A shoulder-fired artillery-like weapon that vented gas rearward to eliminate recoil. Late war, but powerful. 57mm and 37mm anti-tank guns. The 57mm remained effective against armor. The 37mm became obsolete in Europe, but stayed useful in the Pacific for bunker busting. Rifle grenade launchers attachments that turned rifles into light artillery, expanding infantry firepower without heavy equipment. Explosives and demolitions, Mk2 fragmentation grenade. Standard issue room-clearing weapon. White phosphorus grenades, smoke, signaling, and psychological warfare. Anti-tank mines, disrupted movement and supply lines. Bangalore torpedoes, cleared obstacles on assaults like D-Day. Satchel charges, simple, devastating demolition tools. Knives and bayonets, M3 combat knife, purpose-built for close combat. USMC K-bar, utility and combat combined. Bayonets, still symbolic and lethal in final assaults. Mark-Front trench knife, a brutal relic used in limited roles. Mortars and flamethrowers, 60mm and 81mm mortars. Infantry, pocket artillery, capable of striking enemies behind cover and breaking attacks before they reached friendly lines. M2 flamethrower, most feared in the Pacific. It wasn't about range, it was about denying the enemy the safety of bunkers and caves. The US didn't win World War II with a single perfect weapon. It won with an arsenal, adaptable, mass-produced, and constantly evolving. Some weapons were elegant, some were crude, but together they kept American forces moving forward across every battlefield on Earth. History wasn't shaped by one gun, it was shaped by millions of them, working as a system.